It was an ordinary Saturday morning in a quiet neighborhood where life moved slowly, and people knew each other by name. The local bike shop, a modest little garage at the corner of the street, was run by a single mechanic named Ray. He wasn't a man of many words, but his eyes always carried kindness, and his hands worked with the kind of precision that only years of dedication could give. Ray had been fixing bikes for over 2 decades, not for fame or fortune, but because he genuinely loved it. His garage wasn't just a workplace, it was a sanctuary where kids from the neighborhood came for help, advice, or sometimes just a kind smile. That morning, as Ray was adjusting the gears on a customer's mountain bike, he noticed a young girl struggling to push her broken bicycle toward the shop. Her tiny hands gripped the handlebars tightly, and her brow furrowed with determination. The chain had slipped off, and one of the training wheels was hanging loose. Ray wiped his hands, walked over, and crouched down next to her. "Hey there, having some trouble?" he asked gently. The girl nodded. "I tried to fix it myself, but I guess I don't know how." Ray smiled. "Well, how about I teach you instead of just fixing it for you?" The girl's eyes lit up. "Really? You'd teach me?" "Of course," he replied. "Fixing bikes is kind of like solving a puzzle. It just takes a little patience." What Ray didn't know was that the girl's mother, Emily, was sitting in her car across the street, watching everything unfold. She had parked there just long enough to take a phone call, not expecting her daughter to wander off with her bike. Emily wasn't just any mom, she was the CEO of a major tech company. Her life was a whirlwind of board meetings, investor calls, and product launches. She was used to people knowing her title before her name and being treated with polished professionalism. But as she watched her daughter interact with the humble mechanic, something inside her paused. She saw a different kind of value being offered, something raw, real, and deeply human. Back at the garage, Ray was guiding the girl step by step. He showed her how to loop the chain back onto the gears, how to tighten the bolts, and how to use the pump to refill her tires. Every moment was filled with patience. When she got something wrong, he encouraged her to try again. When she finally succeeded, he clapped his hands and said, "Now that's what I call a future mechanic." The girl giggled. "My name's Lily. What's yours?" "Ray," he said, smiling warmly. "And you're a fast learner, Lily." Emily watched as her daughter laughed, really laughed, and something about that moment made her eyes well up with tears. In the chaos of her corporate life, she had forgotten how important simple kindness was. She had built empires, raised millions in funding, but nothing felt as powerful as the joy on her daughter's face as she learned to fix a bike on her own. When Lily ran over to her mother with excitement, Emily stepped out of the car and approached Ray. "Excuse me," she said, her voice composed yet warm. "I just wanted to thank you." Ray looked up, wiping his hands again. "Oh, it was no trouble. She's got a natural knack for fixing things." "I saw that," Emily replied, then extended her hand. "I'm Emily Walker." Ray shook it. "Nice to meet you, Ms. Walker." There was a moment of silence, and then she said, "You probably don't know me, but I run a company that develops learning tools for kids. We're always looking for real-world inspiration, and I think I just found it in your garage." Ray blinked, surprised. "I just fix bikes." "Yes, but today you taught my daughter confidence. You taught her problem solving. You made her feel capable, and that's something no app or gadget can replicate." He shrugged humbly. "Sometimes, kids just need someone to believe in them." Emily nodded slowly. "Would you ever consider working with kids more formally? Maybe running a workshop, partnering with schools?" Ray chuckled. "I wouldn't know where to start." She smiled. "Well, I do. And I think your experience, your patience, what you gave my daughter today, is something this world needs more of." Over the next few weeks, Emily kept her word. She helped Ray set up a weekend workshop in the garage called Fix It Saturdays. Kids from all over town came, not just to learn about bikes, but to discover the joy of using their hands and minds together. Ray became a mentor, not just a mechanic. His garage was now filled with laughter, questions, and the sound of little victories as kids learned how to make something broken work again. Lily became his most regular student. She eventually outgrew her training wheels and even started helping other younger kids during the workshops. Emily, too, changed. She began to take weekends off from work to volunteer at the shop. The CEO who once lived in boardrooms was now handing out tools and encouraging kids. And in that simple, oil-stained garage, something beautiful was unfolding, a small community driven by kindness and curiosity. One day, a local journalist caught wind of the story and came to interview Ray. You're kind of a local hero now, the reporter said, jotting down notes. Ray chuckled. I'm just a guy with a toolbox. But you've changed so many lives. Ray paused for a moment, then said, I didn't set out to change anyone's life. I just figured if a kid wants to learn, it's my job to teach them. It's really that simple. That story was published online and went viral. Messages poured in from across the country. Parents wanted similar programs in their towns. Schools reached out, asking for partnerships. And Emily, true to her innovative spirit, began working with Ray to expand the initiative, turning it into a nationwide model called Hands-on Hope. Ray's garage remained the heart of it all. It never lost its charm. The tools still hung on the same pegboards. The floor still had grease stains. But now, it was more than a shop. It was a place where kids discovered their potential, where adults remembered the importance of patience, and where strangers became mentors. Years later, Lily, now in high school, stood in front of a group of younger kids at the shop. With Ray by her side, she told them, the first time I came here, I didn't know anything about fixing bikes. But Mr. Ray showed me how to try, how to fail, and how to keep trying. That's what this place is about, not just bikes, but believing in yourself. And in the back of the room, Emily watched with tears in her eyes. She had closed million-dollar deals, built tech empires, and spoken at global conferences. But nothing felt as meaningful as that moment, watching her daughter, once a scared little girl with a broken bike, now standing tall with wisdom beyond her years. All because one single mechanic had taken the time to teach. In a world that often rushes past the small things, it's easy to underestimate the power of a quiet act of kindness. But sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one lesson, one human connection, to change a life forever. And that's the kind of story that reminds us what really matters. Hashtag soul-stirring stories, hashtag emotional stories, hashtag heartwarming stories, hashtag human connection, hashtag inspiration, hashtag believe in yourself, hashtag kindness matters, hashtag life lessons, hashtag community love.